Just about everything you know is a lie. Hey, I'm back with another little crash course tutorial. I'm gonna do one on the eyes, but it's just gonna be about the rendering process of manga eyes, just black and white. So, alright. Why don't we get into this? Why don't I sketch out, I'll do 2 different eyeballs. Or eye shapes, rather. This one's gonna be more of a Pokemon-ish sort of illustrative eyeball right here. Right there. And I get the little eyelid. What do you call that thing? Little eyelid camel toe? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Eyelid cleavage. Eyelid cleavage. All right. Next one right here, I'll make like an egg-shaped eye. You know, like a couple of people, like Mako, Monconchokes, like Urarakas, and a little egg-shaped eye to go along with it. Okay. Another lid cleave right there. Okay. Now, you got the shape of the eye, whatever. That's not really part of the tutorial, but I want to get into just overall shading and highlights. Now, if you're just starting off, don't worry too much about the pupil. All the attention that you're going to... The areas you're going to be paying attention to when it comes to an eyeball, especially from a distance or whatever, and it's not going to be super high detailed, is just the shading like this. Get this little boomerang action right there, and just divide it in half with this boomerang shape, right? Okay, so now you have where the shading differentiation is going to be. The shading's always at the top, not usually the bottom, but always the top, right? And within the darker part of the shading, you're going to put a circle, or even, in this case, I'll stylize a little bit. It'll come off the outside of the eye a little bit. It'll be kind of like a Doritos triangle right there, right? Get that back. And for this one, the little egg-shaped one, well, we do just a little circle that's definitively on the inside, right? Okay, so from here you can just, let's see. Because I usually like to do this type of eye a lot right here to the left quite a bit. Because, you know, it's got the triangles I like worshiping, remember? Let's see, let me get a little bit of shading up top. Yeah, and that's it. That's essentially all I'm going to be covering this entire video. This is just going to be a crash course, of course, so, but I think this is one of the, as far as simplicity, and working smart rather than hard, this, and if you're just starting off, I mean, learning how to do the eyeballs, the shapes of them is going to be something you'll have to go through anyways, but this is just a nifty way to handle how to, I don't know, give it a little bit of life, give it a little bit of shine and sparkle, you know? Something that's very attention-getting. Now, I'm gonna give this a little bit of line, and I'll speed through this a little bit here. A little time-lapse. Okay, and see? Nice and simple. Nice and simple, just black and white, and that's really all you gotta do, you know? There's not much intensity there. Of course, this, even in this style, even though I'm not covering coloring at the moment, in this video, I'll do it in a different one because there's a little bit more that goes into that because it has to do with a lot of color theory based things, especially when it comes to various highlighting and all that. At least in my style. There's a little bit more that goes into it, but there's a lot more that goes into certain higher renders. But in any case, this is what you got right here, and it's nice, sweet, short to the, nice to the point. Not too many things too complicated about it. Now, I may as well add in something about positioning the eyes in a 3/4 angle, and that's when the face is tilted or like turned perspectively in either the left or the right, and you just see more of one side of the face than the other. You know, you get it. Why don't I just sketch those out real quick, and I'll be back to explain what the hell's going on. Okay, now we're back. I wanted to get a more or less a 3/4 angle, not a side profile, just a 3/4 angle, just to illustrate the idea of how you size the eyes versus where they are on the face here. Now, to simplify it, why don't I just sort of show you how this is divided with this perspective, the 3/4 angle, right? Now, you have this whole section, which is that one other quarter, and then you have like the rest of this section being the rest of the 3/4 here. Now, with that, you have to correspond that to the eye, like the eye size. Typically, in elevation, if your perspective isn't super wonky, they're gonna have the same. They're gonna be on like the same like paralleled area, right? They're not. It's not gonna shift too terribly much. But what does change is the width of the eye right here. See that? How like this one right here, because it's closer to you, is going to like have a larger rectangle around it, such as, see like that? See, look at that. It's like a little giant square glasses right there. Now, that's very important to keep in mind whenever you're giving it that particular perspective. And because even though we're not using pupils in this like incredibly simple render, you do want to make sure that the shading is sort of like coming inwards. Suppose that doesn't really make too much sense. So why don't I actually show an example of like a realistic eye, or at least what eyes typically do in this position. Now, this is something that I picked up a little while back, but it was kind of jarring to see. Now, eyes are kind of like headlights. Whenever in this position, they always like to go, they typically look like this. See, right here. They have that kind of like perspective, even with eyes like these where it's like out like this. Certain aspects about them, typically because they're sunken inwards into the skull like that, or whatever, right? It projects itself in that way. And because of that angle, and because we have a lens in our eye, the shading and the pupil, everything that corresponds with it, is going to be not on the surface of the eyeball like that or whatever, right? It's not going to be, let's see, what's a better example? Like if the eyeball is facing this way, right? The pupil wouldn't be like right here wherever it's looking. See, like that? Because you have a very literal lens, like a semi-liquid sort of like gushy little like jellyfish lens, the pupil is going to be right here, and along with the rest of the shading or whatever, it's going to be like right around there. It's that kind of doohickey, right? So you want to abide by that when it comes to even the simple stuff, because that's how you make the simple stuff look good, is whenever you're using realistic like characteristics involved in there. So none of the shading or anything, it's not like a contact lens, it's not going to be on the surface, it'll just be, just to reiterate, right on the inside here. And if you are going to attach a pupil there, it'll be like that, and the highlights will pretty much be exactly, where they're supposed to be or whatever, It's that sort of thing. So, of course, just as an example, if you were to use these little guys, that's where they would go. And heck, even, I mean, simplistically speaking, if you were to add like some color to this and the rest of it was still just black and white, but you just gave it little pupils right there, that would work out pretty well. Like doing something along those lines. I even like it just having like just like regular color there. Sometimes some pupils don't even have to be like shaded in black or anything, or they could just be any other color you want them to be. It's all about, I don't know. So I'll get into it when it comes to the color version, but it's all about playing with the options that you have and those different methods. It's to really trick your own eyes into like seeing a perspective of like light that isn't normally there, right? So, but here's an example of just let's see here. Let me get the pen to loud. Here's an example of what it would look like if you were to just have, that's a little too far back. If you were just have the pupils there anyways, and then you put them in there like that, right? So that's how that would look. And still, it looks incredible. Looks immaculate. Looks beautiful. It's wonderful. Striking. Put it right there, see? Just like that. And you can kind of feel them going by this principle I showed right here, where it's sinking inwards, because it's like think of it like a satellite dish in your eyes sort of thing. I don't know. It's like a cone shape. Let's see what that looks like for right here. But when it's front facing, of course, it's just gonna be front facing. Like it's that simple. There's really nothing to that whatsoever, anyways. But yeah, so that's the quick little manga eye shape lesson right there. The little crash course. The next one's actually going to be about color. That'll actually have all the other rendering bits, but this one's just strictly for, I guess, semi-beginners or anyone who wanted to just know how to, at least how I like to approach shading and highlighting eyeballs like this in a very, just 3-step process. You have the iris, you have the shading, and then you have the highlight. All you have to worry about. Throw everything else out of the window. Throw that diploma out the fucking window. You don't need it anymore because you can draw this shit. So, so yeah. Comment with whatever you think I should cover next after the eyeball series or whatever. I'm pretty well versed in a couple of other things, so more or less, I figured I can give my 2 cents wherever it's needed. So if you have any suggestions, I'll take a look at it and I'll consider it or whatever, I guess. So check out my other shit in the links down below. But for now, that's the crash course, everybody. Go home, leave me alone.